The one overwhelming thing that I continue to worry about is water, and how I'm going to deal with it. My concern is that I'm going to end up using all the money we have saved, or a lot of the money that we have saved, to drill a well. And I've just been trying desperately to figure out a way to put that off for maybe a year or two so I can use all that money to finish building the house and to get the solar system installed and finished. And I sat and talked with Terrell for a little while today, and I came to the conclusion that I've got all the water I need, and it just doesn't happen to be on my property. So I just did the math and tried to figure out if it was possible to dig out a spot right here next to the creek. Now this is about the lowest the creek gets right here. So there's still probably, I don't even know, 30 or 40 gallons a minute washing through here, maybe even more than that. The springs that Mindy and Terrell intend on using are about 200 yards up that way. And if I dug down and put a tank, a direct buried tank right here, backfilled with gravel, and I drilled holes in that tank to create a fairly clean place to pump from, it shouldn't affect them, and it should be all the water that I need. And so I did the math. I figured out what the elevation was right here, and then I walked up to where I would likely put the tanks on my property. Now myself and Terrell share a common property line for about 350 feet. So there's no reason why I couldn't cross that property line with a 3/4 inch poly line and pump it. My concern was the elevation was so high I wasn't going to be able to find a pump that could handle it. So I was just standing about, the creek's about right there. So from there to here, which is the pad that I put in to put the sawmill, to park my trailers, park the tractor up here, all that stuff. From right here to right there, that spot I was just standing, is 540 feet, okay? The difference in elevation from right here to right there is 38 feet. That's nothing. So Mindy and Terrell basically said I'm welcome to do whatever I need to get water up here. There's a spring over closer to their property, but it's quite a further distance, and it's a lot harder to get to. And so my thoughts are that, of course, I'd rather be closer to a spring. The water quality's better, but if I backfill that with sand and with gravel, it should filter out a lot of the questionable stuff. And then I'm going to put a pump down on the creek in that little, I'll probably put a 250 gallon direct buried tank down there, a tank that's got holes in it. I'll have to drill some holes in it, and then I'll wrap it with some sort of a mesh cloth, that landscaping cloth, something like that, to filter out the big stuff. Then I'll backfill around it with the fines and with washed gravel. And what I can do is I can pump it up here, and right behind me, I've just decided what I'm going to do. This is the easiest way to do this. And even when I drill a well, which we will still do at some point down the road, I can still use this for irrigating, for sprinklers, for having a backup way to put out a fire if I had to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig straight back into the mountain. I'm going to go about 12 feet wide, and I'm going to use tires, similar to how the earth ships are built. And I'm going to build a room that might have to be 15 or 20 feet deep, maybe even 30 feet deep, that I can use the earth's temperature to insulate it. And I'll use some railroad ties or some timbers as trusses across the top of it to keep it from ever caving in. And then in that room there, I can put a booster pump, and I can pump it back down to the house, frankly to both houses. Now that creek, we know there's cows that likely poop in it, other animals, and so what I will do up here is I will do what I do best. My background is plumbing. I spent most of my time doing commercial water treatment, especially the last 4 or 5 years before I sold my company. I did water treatment for hospitals, for surgical centers, for all different kinds of things like that. So once I get the water up here, I will use a system of ultraviolet lights and just simple sediment filters to keep the garbage, and then I'll test the water, and if it's hard enough I'll probably put a softener in down there at the shop house or something like that. But I literally lie awake at night thinking about the path of least resistance to water, and I've made every effort I can make to find it, and this buys us time. And again, that creek never, at that spot right there, it never dries up. And so I know Mindy and Terrell are going to be okay with it. I just called Terrell. He's on his way back up here right now. I want to sit and talk with him, make sure he understands what I'm trying to do. And then I've got to put 540 feet of probably 3/4 inch or maybe 1 inch poly from there to here, and then you know, I just need to find the right pump. I may even use a well pump because it's you know, to have something underwater like that would be probably the best solution. But I think this is exactly what we're gonna do. To me, this is to not utilize that creek just because it's not on my property, when Terrell's made it clear to me that he's never going to sell his property. I'm never going to sell my property. Putting in a little tank right there isn't going to affect them, and so I think that's the solution. So I'm going to start looking for probably a 250 gallon tank. Then I'm going to try and find a couple of 2,500 gallon tanks. I've been working really closely with the company that provided our septic tank, as you can see down there. Norwesco is that company, and I'll probably reach out to them and see what that tank's going to cost me. But I think that's really the solution. I think that doing it that way, I can filter it. The water doesn't taste bad. I've actually drank out of that creek many times when I forgot to bring water up here last year. One time I drank out of it all day. I didn't get sick, but I definitely don't want to take a chance with Giardia or anything like that. So I will, use the ultraviolet lights. I would rather use UV light than chlorine. I frankly hate chlorine, but it's a necessary evil. So this is the direction we're going to go for sure. We just got our floor joists. I'll pick them up next Thursday. I'm going to start framing the downstairs real quick. Get the floor joists up, get it wrapped, get it sheared and wrapped, and then as I have time, I'm gonna get that second story finished too. So this is kind of a load off my mind. I'm gonna bounce it off Terrell and Mindy and just make sure they're okay with it, make sure they understand what I'm trying to do, and then I'm gonna start putting the parts together to do it. This really isn't that hard of a job. It's just gonna take some time to dig a trench between here and there.